Hi, I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
The dairy at the LSU Ag Center's Southeast Research Station in Washington Parish is closing. That's the word from LSU Vice President for Agriculture, Dr. Bill Richardson.
8 years of budget cuts are to blame, and with the state facing a budget shortfall of nearly $1 billion for this fiscal year and about $2 billion for the next, there will not be much love in the legislature when the special session starts on Valentine's Day. This cow is state property and will be sold by the end of June. That's because the LSU Ag Center is closing the dairy at the Southeast Research Station in Franklinton. LSU Vice President for Agriculture, Dr. Bill Richardson, says 8 years of continual budget cuts are to blame.
It became an economic business decision. We just couldn't afford to continue to milk cows with no research going on. That's not what the taxpayers of this state want.
With the closure, Richardson says he will lay off about 15 workers.
Unfortunately, I've had to lay off some people, and that hurts me more than anything else, is having to tell some folks that their jobs will not exist after, throughout the spring.
But it could get much worse. The state of Louisiana faces a $1 billion budget hole this fiscal year. Governor John Bel Edwards called a special session to begin February 14th. That would allow the legislature to pass budget cuts, a 1-cent sales tax that would apply to all purchases except of groceries, prescription drugs, and residential utilities, and to look at removing tax exemptions and exclusions.
In agriculture, we've got to defend our ground when it comes to agricultural inputs like feed, seed, fertilizer, agricultural machinery, and the tax considerations that we have on those. We need to keep those in place so that we remain competitive within the world market as well as within our neighboring states and the United States of America.
If the legislature fails to find that money this fiscal year, Richardson will have to cut a third of the LSU Ag Center's budget by June 30th. Not a third of what's left, but a third of the entire budget. Richardson says there's nothing left to cut after losing 450 employees and $23 million a year over the last 8 years. That'll mean
station closings. There'll be others I'll have to eliminate. I'll have to look at parish offices throughout the state, which are sacred to a lot of those rural legislators. What we have to do to reduce our overhead here in Baton Rouge will be just devastating. And so there's some real difficult times. And so we're there to work with them. We've got to find a way to work through this and to keep our taxpayers happy at the same time. It's going to be a real challenge.
the special legislative session is set to adjourn no later than March 9th. That's just 5 days before the regular session is set to begin. Because this is an even-numbered year, the legislature cannot take up changes to taxes in the regular session. That's why Governor John Bel Edwards had to call a special session to deal with the budget shortfalls. We'll bring you updates from the state capitol and let you know how the decisions made there will impact agriculture throughout the special session.
Not long ago, Franklin Parish was known for its plentiful catfish ponds and cotton fields. Today, only 150 acres of catfish ponds remain. The rest are in conservation programs. Those plentiful cotton acres have also fallen from 144,000 in 1995 to only 3,400 acres last year. In this week's edition of Louisiana Farm Life, TWILA's Carl Wiggers shows us how Franklin Parish farmer Adam Falk is changing with the times to ensure his children have a farm when they grow up.
Adam Falk prepares some of his newly rented land for corn planting later this spring. This work comes only after he prepares his children for life on the farm in Delhi, Louisiana at the Northeast Louisiana District 4-H Livestock Show. All three of Adam's children participated in the livestock show.
Ruby.
That's Ruby? And what did you do yesterday with Ruby?
I showed him.
Falk's youngest, John Randall, is likely to keep the family at the barn for many years to come. Falk says 4-H is a great way to teach his children responsibility.
Well, it's a lot of feeding. You got to feed twice a day. You got to work with breaking them. You get them tamed down and grooming, washing. It's a full-time job.
This full-time job has been a way of life for the Falk family for 4 generations. George Adam, Falk's 15-year-old son, wants to follow in his father's footsteps to to be a fifth-generation farmer.
I want to be a farmer.
Adam's wife, Mandy, saw her son's passion for farming when, as a sixth grader, he worked at Adam's side around the clock before Hurricane Isaac's landfall in 2012.
And that's when I knew George Adam was going to be a farmer, because it was the best thing ever. He was on that. He wouldn't leave Adam's side. He would sleep in the tractor for like 10 minutes, just enough to pump himself up. And that, I was like, oh, it's in his blood, and it's bad. That's where it started.
This spring, as George Adam finishes his freshman year of high school, he will also rent his very own 40-acre farm to plant and work. While George Adam tends to his farm, 12-year-old Caitlin will be tending to her horses.
You know, Caitlin, she's a farm girl, ain't no doubt about it. You know, Caitlin, loves cows. Horses is her passion. She's a horse fanatic.
Away from the farm, Mandy stays involved in agriculture. Instead of working the land, she works the phone. Mandy buys and sells cotton for farmers across central and northeast Louisiana at Farmers Cotton Company in Winsboro.
Okay, thanks.
The call of agriculture hit Adam and Mandy Falk early, especially as young farmers and ranchers. In 2008, they won the top prize in the Louisiana Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers Achievement Award Contest, a brand new truck.
When we started with YF&R, we were both shy. We didn't stand up and talk in front of anybody, and now Adam's president of Farm Bureau and I'm over the women's part, and we met so many wonderful people. We have a family.
Falk says Farm Bureau has given him a network of farmers and ranchers across the state, which has made him a more effective farmer.
You know, I have friends that I met, statewide that I've never met, any other way. And a lot of them I talk to on a weekly or bi-weekly basis,
While Adam is busy this spring getting the land ready to plant, Mandy is working hard to plan the Franklin Parish Farm Bureau's Youth Contest. That's where the Parish Farm Bureau will crown its queen and pick the young people to represent Franklin Parish in the talent contest at the Louisiana Farm Bureau's annual meeting this June. Kristen, you've been on the farm. You know how much these kids love their farm and their agriculture.
It oozes out of them all the way from George Adam to John Randall, and they hold a special place in my heart because they show cattle, which I love.
Yes, indeed.
So Carl Wickers, thanks.
As you just saw in our Louisiana Farm Life segment, the Louisiana Farm Bureau's Young Farmers and Ranchers group was instrumental in developing Adam Falk into the leader he is today. And in Natchitoches, farmers and ranchers from across the state gathered to learn how to be better leaders. This is the YF&R Leadership Conference. Speakers this year included Matt Rush, a really funny guy and friend of TWILA who knows how to motivate a crowd, and American Farm Bureau YF&R committee member Derek Helms. More than 80 young farmers and ranchers attended the event. If you would like to learn more about the Young Farmers and Ranchers program, you can visit our website at twilatv.org.
The Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation, the state's largest general farm organization, has more than 140,000 members. Those members also cross commodities. This is evident at looking at the people who sit on the Farm Bureau Board of Directors and their involvement in commodity-specific organizations. Amelia Kent is the chair of the Louisiana Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers Committee and is also on the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Marty Woolridge is also on the LBIC and represents Northwest Louisiana on the Farm Bureau Board. And Louisiana Farm Bureau Third Vice President Richard Fontenot is also the Secretary-Treasurer for the Louisiana Rice Research Board. He says it's important for agricultural leaders to stay involved.
Our Farm Bureau organization is the voice of agriculture. It's not the voice of rice, it's not the voice of soybeans, it's the voice of agriculture. And I think that we as leaders need to be engaged in commodity-specific groups and then collectively gather and meet and have consensus and have a pulse of the different sectors of the industry so we can come out as one voice for agriculture.
To learn how to become a Louisiana Farm Bureau member, visit our website at twilatv.org. Well, still to come on TWILA, AJ Sabine takes us back to South Africa to get up close and personal with the Big Five.
He has lions, rhinos, and agriculture. Oh my, stay with us.
This week we continue our coverage of the LSU Ag Center's Ag Leadership Class trip to South Africa. This year, Class 14 traveled to South Africa after nearly 2 years of seminars here in Louisiana, Washington, D.C., and the Central Coast of California.
Last week, AJ Sabine showed us the Delmas region, where the class learned about a navy bean and citrus operation. And this week, TWILA's AJ Sabine joins us now to tell us a little bit about the power of technology, how it's changed the life of the emerging black farmer there in South Africa. Also introduces us to merino wool, cattle and grain farmer, correct? And also takes us on a little safari through Kruger National Park.
Well, you remember I talked about the Big Five.
Yes, the Big Five. I remember the Big Five.
Well, guess what? That's coming. Okay, so just stick around.
That's a teaser, right?
Yes, yes. This week will be surely interesting, to be sure. Technology such as Bollgard and Roundup Ready soybeans can often be taken for granted here in the United States. However, these scientific breakthroughs have kept emerging black farmer Kambi Malela in business. First, it's important to understand a little bit of the background. In 1994, at the end of apartheid, white South Africans owned almost 90% of the land, despite being only 10% of the population. Since then, the South African government has provided farming opportunities for emerging black farmers through its land redistribution program. 15 years ago, Kambi Malela started his little cotton farm in the Groblersdal region of South Africa with about 10 acres of land. Today, thanks to BT Technology and others, this former electrician now grows Bollgard Flex and Roundup Ready cotton on 370 acres. Malela has also expanded his farm to include tobacco and sunflowers. He explained that his success as an emerging farmer is due in no small part to the seed technology imported from the United States. Looking forward, Kambi says his work on the farm has inspired young people in his village to consider agriculture as a career.
Myself, I've tried to recruit them, to tell them, let's go to the work in the field, let's go and do this. This is much better. You can see I'm busy with this and this and this, and they also like, but you know, because of lack of money, and then the other ones they don't want to come. But it's lucky because I'm trying to get eight of them to come and be here to farm with me.
For all of you tractor fans out there, Malela started his farm with a 1974 Massey Ferguson tractor that he still uses to this day. Ironically, there is no word for maintenance in Malela's tribe, generally. Other farmers in the area simply use a tractor until it breaks, then they try and buy a new one. However, Kambi keeps his tractor running like a brand new clock. And, you know, when you travel with the Ag Leadership class, Dr. Bobby Swallow keeps you on a very, very tight schedule. Soon after our visit with Kambi's cotton farm, we traveled to Belfast, South Africa, located about 139 miles from Johannesburg. There, we met Gerrit Ruiz, who along with his father raised more than 4,000 German merino sheep on their massive, check this out, 50,000 acre grain and cattle farm.
One look between the barbed wire fence confirms that it's lambing season here on the Lubank farm.
10 years ago, the price of the wool was so weak, you actually want to throw it away.
Owned by Gerrit Ruiz and his family, he explains to Class 14 that this flock of 2,200 German merino sheep can produce up to 7 pounds of wool per animal. However, these sheep serve a dual purpose, fiber and carcass. Ruiz says his father chose his breed of sheep because of the need for diversity here in the Belfast region.
This area we have to call it this. So you have to have some sheep, cattle, soybeans, corn, oats, and this across this, you know, to fit in there. We can't plant everywhere. The soil doesn't allow it. There's rocky places and all this stuff.
Part of that diversification on the Lubank farm led to the construction of this soybean mill.
You can come in.
Once inside, Class 14 looks on with interest at freshly ground animal feed. Ruiz tells the class that the protein level in this feed is much higher because it's produced right here on the farm. St. Martin Parish class member Cassie Berog knows the importance of diversification on her own sugar operation.
Well, depending on your climate change, I feel like I'm going to be a cornmeal expert when I leave here.
Why?
Because everyone grows corn here, different, and they call it maize, different cornmeal, and so it's really interesting.
Pinsgauer cattle also kept the interest of Class 14 as the bus traversed more than 50,000 acres of corn. Iberville Parish sugar grower Patrick Freischurz wished he could be as diverse back home.
I think about what we have in the States and our farm and some of the other sugarcane farms and how vast they can be, and this blows it out the water. This is the diversity that they have here, and the size of it is really impressive.
In addition to the cattle, corn, soybean meal, and the merino sheep, the Ruiz family also grow oats. After the tour, the entire Ruiz clan hosted the LSU Ag Center Ag Leadership class for lunch at their lovely home located right there on the farm. If you'd like to see pictures from that stop, log on to our website at twilatv.org and we'll link you over to the LSU Ag Leadership blog. Now, moving forward to the Kruger National Park. Now, you've heard me talk about the Big Five. I just talked about it just a second ago. Visitors from around the world seek out a glimpse of the Big Five while on safari at Kruger National Park. As a refresher, the Big Five are lion, leopard, rhino, elephant, and the Cape buffalo. All of the Big Five can be found at Kruger, the first national park in South Africa. Even though Class 14 and myself didn't get to see all five, they saw plenty at this sprawling national treasure of more than 5 million acres. Early in the morning, Class 14 climbed aboard these green safari trucks with the hope of spotting the Big Five. Along the way, we spotted tons of wildlife, including giraffes, impalas, and water bucks. Hundreds of species call Kruger National Park home. We caught a few elephants looking for a snack, several rhinos, and this Cape buffalo. In the distance, you can just see the nose of 2 hippos taking a dip. Check out this herd of elephants, including a toddler staying close to its mother that we managed to catch while crossing the road. It's really hard to put into words how wonderful it is to see so much at Kruger National Park. Elephants, rhinos, all roaming about the wild. It's just fantastic. Kruger National Park was founded in 1926 and it's often been described as a geologist's paradise as well, because the park is home to hundreds of thousands of rock formations. Even though the class and I didn't get to see all of the Big Five, Avery and Kristen, it was just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and it's a safari, a day that I will just never forget. It's absolutely wonderful.
Which was your favorite to see of the ones that were included in the Big Five?
Well, I have to tell you guys, the Cape buffalo. We saw a Cape buffalo out by itself, which the guide told us, which is really rare because they all travel in packs. And they said that the Cape buffalo is the most harmful to man, especially when it's by itself.
Ooh, that sounds nicely dangerous.
Yes.
I have a question, Mr.
Yes.
AJ. What makes the buffalo so mystic? I've heard you refer to it as mystic twice.
Well, first of all, it's a beautiful, majestic animal, and you've raised cows, you know how powerful an Angus bull can be. Well, imagine an Angus bull on steroids, and then imagine it being 10 feet away from your car with its horns, and it's just, you know, it has the potential.
Mystic.
You know, a big mystic.
You can feel the power emanating
Yes,
from it.
absolutely.
Well, we're looking forward to next week, which is?
Next week, we're going to do something with the timber industry, and we're going to get some more touristy things. We're going to show you Cape Town, Table Mountain, and a whole bunch of other things. You just got to stick around. It just gets better, folks.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much, AJ Sabine. Well, still to come on TWILA, Louisiana rice already has to compete in a global market, so how do global trade deals impact this embattled crop?
But first, why would a Super Bowl MVP want to raise chickens? It's what's trending on TWILA. Up next.
What do Super Bowl parties, Mardi Gras beads, and crawfish all have in common? All three were trending online this week.
Super Bowl 50 captivated the nation on social media, and on Monday morning alone, Twitter recorded more than 5.8 million tweets with the hashtag SB50.
While the game was technically a showdown between the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers, most of us were probably in it for the commercials and the food. Whether you realize it or not, the Super Bowl would not be possible without agriculture.
That's right. From the turf grass to the tortilla chips, lots of people were tweeting and posting examples of agriculture's role in the big game with the message, no farms, no Super Bowl. How so? Well, let's start with the footballs. Leather is used to make the ball, and one cowhide will make 10 footballs. 120 leather footballs were used in the Super Bowl game.
12 cowhides. ABC News tweeted that Super Bowl viewers will eat more than 139 million pounds of avocados and 1.3 billion chicken wings, according to the National Chicken Council. The USDA also posted this infographic to show just how much the Super Bowl shaped the chicken industry in the last 50 years.
Chicken wasn't only on the menu for the Sunday's big game, it was also on the mind of one of the game's star players, Von Miller, the game's MVP. USA Today posted this article revealing that Miller dreams of becoming a chicken farmer after he retires from the NFL. Well, Mr. Miller, I definitely know at least one chicken farmer who would love to trade places with you.
Let me guess, Butch Oaks.
Butch Oaks, but I don't know if he could do your job.
Well, it's that Texas A&M education. He actually went for poultry science.
And he has a small farm, backyard chickens, right now. So
hey, how's that for agriculture in the Super Bowl? Well, while Super Bowl 50 was a top trending topic across the country, here in Louisiana, our news feed was decked out in purple, green, gold, and crawfish red.
Mardi Gras season means plenty of parade pictures, beads, costumes, and even a few more chickens thanks to the Courrier de Mardi Gras.
The end of Mardi Gras means crawfish season shifts into high gear as Lent begins. This time of year, crawfish posts fuel the mudbug madness in Louisiana. And thanks to a warmer winter, crawfish are supersized this year.
For all of the Louisiana natives who currently live outside of the state, these posts only serve up one feeling: #jealous.
#jealous.
Now moving on to this week's trending trivia. Last week I asked you a question about our newest TWILA reporter, Carl Wiggers. And the question is, what is Carl Wiggers' favorite row crop? And the correct answer is A, cotton. This week's question is, the first football uniforms were made from which fabric? Is it A, wool, B, cotton, or C, leather? To enter this week's trending trivia contest, simply log on to your Facebook or Twitter account and post your answer with the hashtag TWILATrivia, or you can always submit your answer on our website at twilatv.org.
We've talked a lot lately about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, with the advantages and challenges it will bring to agriculture. We hear a lot about trade deals like this when they're being put together, but oftentimes precious little about them after that.
In this week's Bottom Line, TWILA's Neil Melanson takes a look at how past trade deals have affected the rice industry in particular and how it might fare in a more open trade future.
It's easy to get lost in the details of trade negotiations like the Trans-Pacific Partnership. There are as many moving parts to it as there are countries at the very least, and each of those countries wants to protect what they have while expanding into new territory. For the U.S. rice industry, it's a careful balancing act between opening up new markets and protecting our own industry. At the recent rice meetings in Jennings, USA Rice President and CEO Betsy Ward showed the benefits of what a good trade deal looks like, even while acknowledging there's a ways to go on the TPP.
For example, the Colombia Free Trade Agreement, which has generated new export sales, but also research dollars for the state of Louisiana to the tune of about $2 million. So that's been a trade agreement that works, and we kind of were hoping that TPP would be the same. It didn't quite come out that way for rice. Rice is a tough commodity to negotiate. It's very sensitive. Japan was the sticking point, obviously. So we still have some work to do there.
The bottom line here is not every trade deal is created equally, and the devil certainly is in the details. That's why it's important for rice farmers and industry leaders to stay involved in the process of shaping trade deals so we can have favorable ones like the one we saw with Colombia. The risk of a bad trade deal is not only to our farmers, though. It's to consumers as well. Most consumers like having a choice when it comes to rice, but they also like one of those choices being Louisiana-grown rice. We have a strong tradition of growing rice in the U.S., and retaining that industry means we can continue to get the homegrown rice we all enjoy. For This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Neil Melanson.
By the way, rice prices are trading at around $11 per hundredweight, which is down from a year ago, but has remained fairly stable here lately. With oil prices going down, that is going to help rice overall, as the fuel to run water pumps necessary to irrigate rice will be cheaper.
And it's a whole lot cheaper to fill up your car.
Well, that's helpful for us in as far as our fuel prices for our cars, but for our people living along the coast who depend on oil and gas and those jobs, it's a little rough for them too.
Has a ripple effect. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll find out how immigration issues are affecting Louisiana farmers.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.